Michelle on, Michelle today, especially Michelle on Tuesday when I was in Burnett Town.
Where?
Burnett Town,
I know that, I remember, where's
in
that?
Aiken County.
Oh,
Good Lord.
It's 3 hours away.
I
got another
Right.
Midnight.
Burnett Town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the probably know where it is?
Probably come out with something.
There's a good Costco right there.
Yeah.
Right there in Augusta, right off the highway. That's where I would stop, heading to Millville. Oh, did you?
Well, yeah.
278,
Yeah.
probably. I usually go like 26 to 20.
I used to take the interstates all the way, but then I'd leave at 3 in the morning and just, there'd be trucks on the road. That's it.
Waynesboro and Sandersboro. all these places.
I have to go to the interstate. I'm old and I can't see, so I need plenty of light.
I just want to go down Maybank Highway to Bears Bluff, and that's as far as I need to go.
Oh, well, this has been. All right, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. So you all, what I did is information, budget information. So we have how much we spent in the 2021 year, which is the year last year's complete. Then we have the budget we're working on now, where it says this column 21 budget. And then the 21-22 budget estimate is how much we expect to spend this year. And most of the pages, first page doesn't have year to date, but most of the pages have how much we spent so far. And generally, not always, but generally, also some good reasons and differences, we just sort of, based it on the first 7 months and then extended it at that rate. Now, on the second page, page 2, which is revenue, that's a little different. It says the 2023 estimate at the end, it's the second to last column, and that's how much money we forecast that we'll get in the 2023 year. And one key bit of information is in the very last row, last column, 132,072. So at least right now, that is our estimate of how much current, general fund revenue, general revenue, the increase in general revenue we expect to have from last budget. So they put that on my, so it's like how much estimate we spent.
And that doesn't include our American Rescue Plan.
Oh, no, not at all.
What might we fund that out? Do you have any idea?
So, well, actually, I'm sorry, I should talk about that in first.
No, that's all right.
So let's go to the very first.
I don't
page.
mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
No, that's right. On the very first page, right now, so we expect to get $3,709,261. And we've got half. Okay, it's in the bank. And then we expect to get the other half. Well, I don't know, in the fall, I guess. Well, right, we get the first half.
Yeah, I don't think, what do we say, July maybe?
Okay, so anyway,
Yeah.
we're counting on getting all the money.
Okay.
Now, if you see it says 21-22 budget estimate, so I expect that we'll spend, I anticipate we'll spend about over $200,000 out of that. And this is money on the drainage projects that, council, we approved, we amended the budget. Now, those drainage projects, we have hardly started at all. We're, spending money on them. And, all the money we spend this year on those projects will be paid for out of those funds. That's what that is. And so the bottom of it, we have all of our different funds, right? Besides the general fund. So the second page, that's the second page about the revenue. Those are general fund revenue. And yes, the American Rescue funds are on the bottom line, but they're not general fund. Right? And then we have, how much we spent in this, in administration. Page 3, and then like official, and then general operations. And if you all remember, general operations is where most of the salaries for most of our staff, for public works staff, code enforcement, everyone but the administrative staff. The administrative staff is in business. And the planning and zoning, which is not a small dollar amount. That's page 6. And then page 7, public works. So what we budgeted and what we expect to actually spend in time or we want to spend. And then codes and safety and most of the big ticket items there is out sure. And so that's how much we budgeted how much we expect to spend at the end of the year. Then building services. So this is the change. So in the past, building services have hardly any money in it at all. So the budget was $4,880. I'm going to start accounting for the amount we pay the county for our permit debt. So in the past, when we had our own building official, the salary of building official was included in the operating. General operations. And that 30,000 is like for half a year, so next year. Maybe. All right. And so, yes, the next page is 10, and that's Parks and Recreation. So we have our budget, spend, or how much we expect to spend by the end of the year, and then we have facilities and equipment. And then community services. And how much we budgeted and spent. And then we have the PSD, fire and solid waste, and we budgeted how much we anticipate spending. Here's our representative page, and so basically there was nothing in it before it started, and we anticipate by during sometime next year we'll get all the money. And the 191,864 is how much we anticipate spending on transit projects. Since we got one. Understand, so all the money for our drainage projects that we're spending now, we're spending that.
And could we say that money is drainage encumbered? Like we have already encumbered it?
Well, I would say that, yes, from my perspective, right now, it's pretty much drainage encumbered, except for stuff. So half was, what the budget note said that half was for sewer extension and half is for drainage.
Okay.
So right now, under that budget authority, pretty much all the drainage projects were going forward on, I'm spending that money in special ed, 91,000. Next, when we make the budget for next year, then that will no longer.
Right.
It will be what we decide. Okay, then I have the stormwater budget, and basically, what I've been doing, we spent about $20,000 before we got the American Rescue Funds, and that was a big project before, and I don't think we should spend any of the money out of the stormwater budget. And on drainage, we should use the American Rescue Fund, that's what I'm doing. But anyway, so that's the fund. And then we've got tree fund, which there's not much in the tree fund. So this is like, get that new people have funds. To mitigate the trees, so they money, they cut down trees, or whatever. Maybe legally too, right? And then we have the hospitality tax fund, and so this is like everything else. It has our actual amended year to date, and it has how much we anticipate spending out of this fund, this year. But then there's another column that has the revenue that we forecast for next year. That's how much tax revenue we anticipate getting next year from the hospitality tax. And then we get to the capital projects, and this is there's a whole list of different capital projects in the office working on. And we have a budget, but then also how much we anticipate spending. And so the sewer project expenditures, which I'm not really sure that we'll be spending 25,000 on that, but that's there at the bottom of the page. 18. And then we have our hospitality. No, the drainage funds. And so those are all the projects that spending, and it's like $211,000 figure. That's basically what for the most part, almost all of this, the rescue funds is going towards now. And then we have the hospitality capital project, and at the very bottom, there's information about where the money is coming from to pay for these things. And that's our estimate of how much money we're spending. And so you see it says 191,864 is coming from the rescue plan, 454 is coming from general fund, 572 from the hospitality tax, and 21,000 from small. So that's kind of where we are, right? This is not what we're going to do, is where we are. Now, and I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to help us with our goal setting in a minute. But one issue that I think is important for us to deal with is the inflation. So our estimate of inflation for the last year is 7.4%. And so traditionally, we've given cost of living increases. And usually our cost of living increases were about 2%. And so if that were relevant today, then the increase in the general fund expense would be $15,000 for 5% cost of living raise. Pretty reasonable, right? And then we pay some salaries from hospitality tax, basically. Carolyn itself, right? And so that would be $1,100. Part of it, most of it comes from general fund, a little bit comes from the hospitality tax. Well, in any case, and so if it was 2%, it would be 16,000. Let's just see if we double that to 4%, still a lot lower than what we expect, 32,000, 6%, 48,000. And it's, meeting the inflation rate this year is 61,000. So I want you to think back to how much money increased revenue we had from, the general fund, 134,000, right? It's like a big chunk of the general fund revenue. And the second, there's a page here that says deputy hourly rates increased from $30 to $40 per hour. So the sheriff's office has increased the rates. When we started this as $25 an hour, $30 an hour. This year they've gone up to $40 an hour. So what we have here is the first column is our current budget. And 3/4 of the Island Sheriff's Patrol is funded out of the general fund, and then 1/4 is funded out of hospitality. The rationale that order of the officer's time is personally, we're gonna follow it, okay? Okay, so if we keep the hours the same, which is we have 8,164 hours. Is how many hours we pay, which is equivalent to 4.1 full-time deputies. Rule of 2,000, 5, 8,000. 4.1 equivalent full-time, right? And we kept it, we just kept the same hours. The general fund would be $64,000 in general fund. And, 21,000 hospitality, 86,000 altogether. Now, I forgot, did I tell you we're forecasting like $165,000 more hospitality? So
I think it was there. It was in the table.
oh, I don't have a change. So
You must.
see, so last year's budget was 540 and this year's 665. Right, so that's 125,000. So there's more revenue there. Instead of paying the hospitality part, the 134,000, that, you got an increase in hospitality. Okay. All right, well, anyway, and so if we were to cut the hours, and so have less law enforcement, we can have, we still, all these options, cut the hours by 10%, so we don't have 4.1 equivalent officers, we have 3.7, and then we still have to spend 60,000 more. And if we cut it by 20%, so we have 3.3 equivalent officers rather than 4.1, then we still have to spend $20,000 more. So as I look at the budget, I think we need to get a major cost of living increase, and that's going to be a big expense of our available general fund revenue. 134,000 is one we spend, and then we're going to pay more to continue the Island Sheriff's Patrol. And I'm not really recommending a decrease in hours. I just wanted to show you the options, right? If we keep it the same, which is what I would be inclined to try to do. At 64,000 in general fund revenue, and we're kind of like using up all our money. Right, so possible increase in staff and get this at the $134,000 getting pretty much used up. And so that means as we think about budgeting, if we want to increase one thing, we think about what did we do this year? Think about that on. Maybe, it's not that quite that bleak, but that's the way I see it. This page here is a bunch of the capital projects. This is called capital project estimates. And these are capital projects we're kind of like in the process of doing. And so, we got to build a sidewalk, regatta sidewalk, neighbors phase 1, we really have got 2 started on. But these are all not what we've already spent. This is all what we expect in the next year. We would expect next year to be all these capital projects. And, they add up to a lot of money, millions. And Now, our total funds balance is like 6.6 million, so we have millions. And in the past, we frequently have budgeted lots of money for different projects, budget also most of these projects. And, we anticipate having money to pay for them, but then it all just drags out. So it's like, we're paying someone, like 10% of the total cost to do permitting, and then the permits aren't ready this fiscal year. And so, the project just gets kicked down to next year. That's what we've been doing for a long time. So we'll budget a bunch of money for some project, and it doesn't get done because it's not ready to start.
So for example, the Dills Bluff sidewalk, phase 3, I guess, from Seaside to Windborne. That's not on the list here because that's already been rolled over. Is that the idea?
I'm not sure. I think maybe we're over to pay.
Okay. Is it because the county is doing a match on it?
Well, yes, well, we're going to match it. I think that we might have already budgeted, but it might be kicked down to this year's. I might have just made I might have a mistake in my cost. I forgot.
I'm not that clever.
Well. So I think we're supposed to pay for that this year.
Okay.
And that's what I got in front of me. But you see, if it doesn't happen, we'll pay for it this year. And then
But we could delay perhaps the next phase and take it out of that.
but what will happen is the unfunded fund balance from this year will increase because we didn't actually spend it.
Right.
And then we can just move that forward.
Okay.
And we'll
Is
spend
it
it.
phase 3?
Yeah.
Phase 4 is what we're doing.
Right. It's phase 3 from Seaside to
Windfall.
Windmore.
Yeah, so on this page,
Right.
it says,
Okay.
and we're paying for it this year. We haven't paid for it yet, have we? No, I don't.
No.
So I think maybe it's unrealistic.
Especially phase 4 might be unrealistic. That part.
Well, the phase 4, what that shows is on phase 4 is that the $45,000 would be like design.
Right.
And then the construction is actually for the next year.
Right.
But I wanted to put the second year in there, because that 1.9 million of all these, the following year stuff, right? But if you take 4.4 and 1.9, we can have more money than that.
Right. Okay.
And then this column here that shows the deficits and surpluses. And so, we're starting to, I plan to spend down some of the rescue funds, but generally we have surpluses. And so that actually will add as extra revenue in the following year. So, good. If all of that expenditure, you have a lot less money. Anyway, so I wanted to make you all aware of insurance expense, hospital expense, and then all these projects we kind of have going on. And then I'll turn it over to Ashley to talk about.
Municipal association, Charlie has been doing the goal setting sessions, and I didn't know they were doing these, but I've sat in on a couple now. We had one in Hanahan a couple last Saturday, I think. And it was really interesting, and it's not your very bird's eye view, but we go around and look at the must do, should do, could do's. better to be more specific. So like instead of saying, I want to make James Allen more walkable, you would really need to say, I want to see a multi-use path on Berlin Drive, you need to be more specific, because then you can put a timetable to that and maybe work it into the capital projects budget. So, and it's interesting, the one in Hanahan, it was interesting because, once everyone kind of went around the room and threw out thoughts, there were several times that, like, oh, I didn't even think about that, and so people kind of maybe shifted, what they thought was their priority really kind of changed, so, just a good way to build consensus, and so I called the mayor to ask if this would be something he'd be interested in. This is my first one, so I thought it'd be good to cut my teeth. So thank you, Mayor, for letting me come do that.
Well, I want to start off with a big round of applause.
Right, so, and then, after we go through and exhaust all of our wants and shoulds, we'll score it in a way that, I'm sure the college professors will bring a much better methodology, but I'll just do it my simplistic way. Okay, so, Cynthia, you want to start, ladies first? On what you, let's start with what you think y'all must do. And also, let me say, name, if it's something that's already, we're doing, something in the budget, that's fine, name it again.
I mean, definitely working on drainage, more specifically, and the roads also, as far as the roads go. I've been thinking and looking about, all I can hear in my head is your edge of road issues that we have, like on Fort Johnson and Camp and all that. And I was thinking, what do we do, even though it's DOT roads, what if we backfill where the dirt is on the side of the road, so that it's not big hollow, because that looks like where all the chunks of road are falling off.
So that's shoulder work you
Yes.
talked about,
Yes, it is shoulder work.
Yeah. both sides.
So specifically, we're talking about Fort Johnson, right?
And Camp and.
The main,
But we can start with Fort Johnson. Let's start with Fort Johnson. I'll say that. If we're gonna just dial it down to super specific.
yeah,
And that sort of goes into drainage too, doesn't it?
Definitely help with water and cooling on the roads, in my opinion. And we all know how long it takes to get roads repaired around here. So, with like DOT and all that, so this might be something that might not be too terribly costly for us to do, that could maintain the quality of our roads longer. So we have more drivability, less accidents, and less water cooling to eat away at the asphalt.
right, good person. Okay, Dan.
I think we must address inflation.
So addressing it by funding it in the budget.
Correct.
I guess I don't ask that, I just ask council. I'm gonna skip one.
You know, back to.
Hey, Troy.
Cynthia was saying the drainage, general drainage committee was like us. And then of course that issue that we were talking about when we left, the affordable housing,
Yeah,
inflation. I found out this not long ago that the average cost of a house in New England is in fact $1 million. And it's only going up. So I think that is a major, we're just touching those issues, but I think that's our issue for. But the drainage to, those two together, to me, is very important.
so on your drainage, what specifically? Like, is there a specific area? Or do you wanna see the town focus on more, expanding what it's already doing into other areas that it's not looking at, or looking at a specific?
Well, just every neighborhood just to have their bad spot. You know, the drainage is worse.
So identify the bad spots in each neighborhood.
Let's see the road.
Yeah.
And that's it. And, you know, that just comes to mind, I'm like, every neighborhood has its bad spot. And so like I said, Homewood has this road, Hawthorne has this road, you know, something like that.
Well, I hate to jump in here, but there's the James Island Creek Basin drainage, right, which might dovetail with cleaning, you know, flush the creek better, and might help clean it better, or not make it worse, flush it too.
Hmm.
On page 19, they got all the drainage projects. This is, right, so.
Yeah, very, overreaching one. There was sections.
So there's specific like outflow devices. I know we wrote on this a couple of times, updating outflow devices.
Then of
Like
course,
a valve, so it can't come back in, but it can go out.
then of course, we had, Quill One, project, big projects like that.
Right.
You
Which is
know,
listed here.
yeah. So, but that's kind of my general idea. So,
And like ditches, like the concrete ones that are all full of dirt now, like accreted ditches that are along the roadside, have you seen those? Where it looks like you can see that there is a ditch underneath the driveway, for example,
Yeah,
but
culvert,
it's this big.
yeah,
It's all,
Long Harbor,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So we got one little window, yeah, I know what you're talking about. They did get clogged up pretty quickly, and you need to be cleared out. And as you know, we're supposed to have backlog with the county. So,
Everybody.
little things like that, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna save your affordable housing for the next time.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor?
Water quality for James Creek.
So in, yeah, I guess specifically things, you know, the testing results improve or just working on what we're already working on, just continuing on that.
Well, that's the too optimistic, and seeing testing results and improving. Taking action to reduce human waste in the water.
What do you do about the bird? Are we doing a little bird?
Can't do anything about it. They were here first.
I know, I was just like,
So feed the ducks.
yeah. I'll feed it.
So there's people that, you know, propose that you should put spikes on the docks and stuff and keep the gulls.
Oh, for Pete's sake. It's gonna be a fly-by moving.
They'll be quiet.
There was some losing an eye.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
They would come up with a little bird diaper.
But
No?
I was thinking, what we're trying to do is go through the, hit like line items on this budget.
Not
Rather than
particularly.
concepts, okay, so it can be concept.
It could be something that
You
we're not
could,
doing at all.
and then modify the amount
So one,
some.
okay, you know, percent.
Yeah, and so it, you know, it can be something that we're doing already that you see as should be the town's top priority. And so, you know, once we score and you kind of look at it, it's like, oh, well, this one scored the highest. Are we funding enough towards that? That's our priority. Is that reflected in the budget?
You could add something.
Yeah.
So, for example, I don't think we really have a program to enhance the road whole, not the road. Education, and so that's a new program, right? And then we don't have a program to, you know, an affordable section 8 town, section 8 housing program. 5 houses, and then not low house for people. Like that would be a new program. We have a program to help repair existing houses, like the sheriff program. So that would be a new program. But we have lots of drainage projects.
Okay, Karen?
Well, I want to come back to Councilman Mulliнаx's idea of affordable housing, because I think that's real sustainable. We've got a bunch of houses on this island where people just don't live there. They're vacant, they're falling in on themselves. And I could sort of foresee a program where we could partner with the repair care people and the habitat people, and perhaps buy a couple of those houses every year, fix them up, and get families in them for affordable costs.
Like the county's doing now.
Right, but I think that if we have such a program on James Island, that is a more sustainable approach than to have, you know, all these folks that, we need people to work here. We don't want them commuting. Wouldn't it be great if they had a place to live close to where they work?
So in affordable housing, it would be the town buying existing housing stock
Mhm.
and existing dilapidated housing stock.
Identifying houses that are pretty much dilapidated and need some help, fixing them up, and getting families in there to live.
So do we sell them at market rate or at a reduced cost?
I think it would be more or less a rental type of thing. But I don't know, HUD probably has programs. I'm sure there are plenty of federally based programs that we can seek assistance from. I'm spitballing here. And what I'm thinking is, we really do have an issue. Everybody talks about affordable housing, but nobody does anything really creative to make it happen. And if you walk around neighborhoods, you identify the house that nobody's living in and nobody has been in for a long time.
Yeah, of course.
You've got 3 there in where you are. And it isn't practical. Real estate is very expensive here on James Island, but that's part of the issue. We need to make it so that families can afford to live here. And I think that if we can do something to mitigate the high costs and provide, even if it's a lease limit on what they do while they gradually build their fortunes to where they can afford their own home or purchase the one they're living in. I think that if we incentivize it, we could do it a lot of different ways. But I just feel like folks need help now. And most young folks have no hope of ever buying a home because of the cost of housing now. And I just think if we don't address that, we're just going to see more and more of these houses become empty. And that's going to be bad.
So generally, when people buy dilapidated houses and flip them.
They
sell them on the
can,
market.
that's one way to do it.
So when you look at some house and say it's vacant, you know, why hasn't it been purchased and flipped?
Mhm.
Well, there's a reason, you know, some reason. And, you know, if the people who own it wanted to sell it, then you know, they would. And there would be someone who would buy it, you know, it's a junk house, and then replace it with you know, fix it up.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm pretty skeptical that there's just these houses that nobody wants. And it's more like the sellers for some reason aren't interested in selling. So for example, we've had situations like that where there's a dilapidated house and we were, you know, we ended up turning it down. So and why did that work? You know, it's like always as this process is going through, like, well, why does this person sell the house? Right, and get some money out of it. And then, you know, maybe the new owners would tear down, start from scratch, maybe they would rebuild it, and make this house a big thing. But, you know, it turns out there's some peculiar reason why they're not selling the house. Well, my husband is, you know, something that's just kind of crazy. They instead of selling the house, no, they just hold on to it, let it be vacant and fall.
But if that same person were given an incentive, for example, not necessarily an extreme lowball offer, but an offer to take it off their hands, so that it becomes not their liability, it becomes not their property tax issue. All of a sudden, it becomes money in their pocket, not as much as they might expect, but something that relieves them of the burden of the home.
So they should be able to sell these houses for lots of money.
They should be.
So
What's
what's
their
not
advantage?
going to be, and so the incentive would be to pay them more than the high price that they actually get for the property anyway.
Right.
Anyway, there may be some houses, examples of houses that just nobody wants on James Island. That, could be purchased and then fixed up and then rented. And there are federal programs, it's also section.
There are.
So second housing, so what you do is, I guess, you could buy, spend time money, buy a house, fix it up, turn it over and have it be section housing. For people to live in.
What we do is, we're still kind of on pioneer ground on this. The county just started looking at this. And then when the county has it, then we kind of piggyback and see what they're doing. The county was going to fix these houses up and then have a private entity, manage it. Like property manager, not section 8 of government.
No, what the county's doing is, so these houses they belong to the government already, and so they are going to, spend money to fix them up, and then turn them over to, a private nonprofit that would operate it like section 8. I think that's the plan, and it hasn't really made any progress.
I haven't seen any more about it.
From what I've seen, a lot of those houses fall into disrepair and continue to deteriorate in the existing programs. So it would take oversight and vigilance to make sure that the properties are being cared for. Which is why I'm thinking the rental thing is probably a good thing, because you maintain some level of control. But I don't know, this is just something I hear a lot of people talking about affordable housing and doing nothing about it. They try to incorporate it into planning and zoning land use plans, and nothing really happens. There's an expiration date on it, so it's not something that's sustainable into the future. I just think that people need a place to live, people need a chance, and I think that if we could design a program, that would be a wonderful thing. And I'm sure that's something we could do.
So, when you think about a must do, should we,
Well,
and
we're
could
not
we,
there.
those things, I would think of, what are our core functions, things that we just can't stop doing possibly.
Right.
And then when we start saying, well, here's some stuff we've never done before, but we just really think they're nice.
This
Don't you
would-
think we should put those on
Well,
the should do?
we'll get to that. We're not there.
Maybe this is a could, right? Maybe that's something we need to explore more. If you want something specific, I would say public transportation. And if we have to pay CARTA money for a better route on James Island, I would be willing to explore that option.
So in what way a better route?
A better route that actually includes people on the island that would ride the bus. All right, one of their big criticisms is they don't have enough riders. And part of the problem with that is the infrequency of the bus that travels down Folly Road on Folly Road. Right? What if it went all the way around to Harvard Road too?
So, because it did they doubled the frequency this past year on Harborview. On Raleigh Road. So it's about, and I know a little bit about this only because my church has a refugee family in Afghanistan, so I'm trying to help them navigate the system. So it's coming by about every 45 minutes. That you're specifically saying that it needs to
An expanded
Somehow-
service,
expand, Route 31 should expand to Harborview.
make a loop. That way we circle beyond.
I don't know, I think water everywhere, something we deal with, I mean, it is drainage and roadway issues and say perhaps one thing that we could look at when dealing with drainage on chronically flooding areas like Cali Barrow. Maybe use some of our rain garden experience that we had and do something along the areas that flood consistently with using rain gardens, which would not be super costly and can really mitigate the issue. Using more rain gardens in public spaces to address flooding. How about that? Perfect. Okay,
And maybe even making an educational thing. That's a good idea. In one of our parks or something, show people this is a rain garden, and these are some plants.
and we did the thing with, was it lid, right, Kevin?
Oh,
I guess that's two words, isn't it, rain garden?
Yes,
I mean, we have a couple of them gardens.
One word here.
yes. I'm thinking, that's awesome. I haven't seen them, so I was thinking like some of the places that consistently are just, every time it rains, they're flooding. Then if we could incorporate the use of rain gardens somewhere around that to help soak some of that water off the road.
Dan?
Surrounding islands. Yeah, rock farming.
And I think we spent over one. That was. So like every 5 years, we go or something.
No, yeah, it's like, you said,
Oh, okay.
Do you want to drill down on a little bit, like, obviously continue what the town's already started
Yes,
on Foxcroft, but then
and then identify the next place.
identify
Which I think they've already identified the next, street one stretch of power outages down 40 miles, from that. Map.
Okay, Troy,
Jim, this
we've
new
already got your
budget,
affordable housing.
that's just
Eric.
something they give us later.
I would say,
we need to act.
one of my other projects, okay. My other concern for traffic safety, no issues. And that's the reason for the radar traffic. And I had identified a long stretches of road, we talked about this a long time ago, that once we got these signs, got to do what these signs. It'd be nice, maybe down the road sometime, to have one maybe for stone posts, maybe have one for curvy. And we have, the long stretches of road that people have an opportunity to see. Because I was told at one time, stone posts used to get dragged.
So identify the next areas for radar speed signs.
Yes, yeah, because I think they really do such a great job. That's why it's so disappointing,
That's a procedure they have to follow.
Yeah, it'd be great, and I appreciate when we own that, pretty good. But yeah, it is, I mean, I saw it firsthand, when we had our own radar sign that time, we put it down the curve, in Stoneville, and, it really worked, it made people slow down. But the increased traffic was bad, only increasing more and more, things like that do promote traffic safety, reducing speed, speed.
Okay, good. Mayor? No more? You can be done.
Law, protecting our citizens from crime.
All right.
Having an island sheriff control.
Do you mean increasing the number of deputies or
No.
keeping the same number? Maintaining the island sheriff's patrol.
Okay. I'm gonna say by continuing to invest. How's that? I think that sounds good.
Well, I think we're getting, so many parks these days, in the town, there's nothing wrong with that. That's all good. But I think it was almost to the point where, we need to get some help maintaining them. And it seems like we could use perhaps somebody who would be a sustainability person, somebody who can kind of, take care of the plantings that are in these parks and different public places. Somebody who could water new trees that are planted in right of ways. Somebody who could maintain some of our outdoor facilities here. And also kind of keep track of, work with Mark perhaps, and keeping track of some of the drainage ditches and keeping them clean, and some of the right of ways that we have, just making sure that they're cut back and clear.
So are you talking about dedicating a new staff member
Yes.
to this, or
Yes.
contract out,
Yes.
specifically staff? Okay.
And I thought about a name for it, but I'm not sure if parks maintenance is a good idea. That's why I like park sustainability, something along those lines. So we're planting things. Yes, right, something like that. There you go. Beautiful. Something along those lines.
So here's the problem. We have, it's not a problem. Okay, so, other words, right now, we have Mark and two other people, but one person is off for now. He actually has tremendous skills. But Mark doesn't like the part maintenance. He wants to call him construction tech. So our titles don't admit that would. But we actually.
We've already got what I want, and then you just need to hire a construction tech.
We got a construction tech, right?
Construction maintenance tech too, this would be a vegetative maintenance tech,
Oh, vegetative maintenance.
that way it's not limited to.
I do that all
Well, you mentioned the ditches too, so I mean, and that's,
And
I guess
right,
the county
We do have. We've increased the staff in public works. And I don't think we actually have someone, exactly organized in such a way as one person's just in charge of parks and greenery, and the other person's in charge of everything else. So Mark doesn't quite want to organize it quite that fashion, but we do have a person who has.
Who has those skills?
And
And they can be the ones that clean off the solar panels and those kind of things.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I didn't
Have you noticed all the pollen out there?
Yeah, I guess it's obvious, I never thought of it. What more can we do?
Yeah.
But anyway, having a third person in the public works department may be useful. But there's a pilot issue. Why are all the time about? Why aren't we hiring lawyers?
Well, Bill, I know you and Kathy do an awful lot at parks, and that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about this. You're not getting any younger, young man. It would be good to probably have somebody that can, do some of those things.
I don't think there's plenty of these.
So Cynthia, back to you, let's, I guess, think more about anything that is not necessarily a must do, but a could do that comes to mind. So that you would like to see down the road. Or it could still be a must do. No, perfect, give me a second. Okay.
I think more attractive street lighting would be done here, if we start continue expanding that, I like that quite a bit.
Do you have any specific place where we should focus on?
for the streetlight? I mean, I pick like the darkest street first, or maybe
Oh, I was
extend
thinking,
it
so it's like-
from here.
Fort Johnson Road, when you go down to Bill's Bluff, you're gonna lack on that sidewalk, some pretty dark stretches, like as you approach the high school.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's one of those sections that we added some lights to those poles and we had to get those long, if you, well, they've got really long arms, but the problem is those poles are still set so far back.
You can't.
And they don't.
What
they don't
about-
So I would,
Down
so
this way.
so I think there's like two issues, it's like, we need more streetlights. And then we need depth of streetlights. And so when you was, when we said you wanted to, nice streetlights, you have. What areas should stand, nice ones, not, and then of course, that we might need more streetlights and dark spaces. I understand that.
Yeah.
So, we made a big effort to increase the streetlights in the downtown area.
Right.
They did, do it. There were a lot more,
Yeah.
which is still plenty of,
So I mean, you could look at two approaches, either expand from where they are now and go out like in a gradual circle, so it has a sense of continuity. Or pick the worst places and do that. But I think it would look better if we started continuing from where we are and bring it out. Does that make sense, Mayor?
Yeah, I understand.
So for example, streetlights are not included in a sidewalk project, right? That's just the cement and the grading and the putting the surface in.
Drainage, yeah.
Right.
There's a drainage.
So to me, it would make sense that that would, it's like a train track, right? You have the tracks down the train goes on it. So there are some older parts of it, like where I'm talking about, Dillon's Bluff down here to the left. And this old sidewalks, but there are people who use that a lot. Which would make sense to me, to look at something like that versus waiting for the other areas to kind of get more built in. The sidewalks be laid and connected and then string lights. That's the road concept. So, gotta go.
That all makes sense, I just, I don't know what action was gonna say. You mean like we should start working on Folly Road, or, but then, like heading down Camp Road towards Folly Road, or on Phil's Bluff, you suggested.
And Sam?
With, I'm looking up here, we don't have sidewalks, right, so I would say. Connection sidewalk expansion. Specifically, regarding to phase 3, going up from Seaside up Bill's Bluff Road. To connect, which I know we've already budgeted, but we haven't done it yet, and it's phase 4. And the Regatta Road, like going toward through the Harbor Woods, towards the grocery store.
Okay, the neighbors.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I live over there, and there's just a ton of people that walk with their strollers and stuff up and down the road. Because there's no
They're in the
sidewalk. Yeah, they're in the road, there's no sidewalk. Have a couple actually trying to do it out neighbors. Taking a light in your hands.
Hey, Troy?
Just kind of piggyback on something that was something Dan was saying, we were talking about lights earlier.
Mhm.
And Dan was saying, some sidewalks, or they go to sidewalks, they have to go to sidewalks and the lights. One perfect case in point is the sidewalk which is dedicated by our point. Especially at night, especially people like doing soccer field and whatnot, and you go towards Burger King and our new, sidewalk with the railing on it.
Mhm.
That nice railing, the sidewalk just has no light at all. That is really, that's particular, the only light you can get is when the headlight of a car goes by. That'd be a great place to have much. I think.
So basically, if we ask the commission to put in streetlight, they will. And then we have to pay the light bill forever. And, you know, it's not a lot for one more street light. It adds up to the big light bill. Street lights is cheap. And then, but then, you know, should we put the fancy ones? Okay, fancy ones,
So LED.
no, I mean,
Decorate.
decorative, like ones in our parking lot and along, the block. For those,
I mean,
we can, you know, that same funding we use for underground power lines, half of it, you know, half of it, we have to pay for those special lights. And, you know, when we can come up with that, that would general fund somehow, or, you know, if it's in the right spot, and we can use hospitality. You know, if it's not an tourist related area, then we would use general funds. And then, but we can use half of the money from the special committee fund. So that's how that works. And so, but if there's like an area where, okay, there's a dark area, we need streetlights, we, you know, so tomorrow, you'll call Dominion, and Dominion will the streetlight up there, it'll be just, you know, standard streetlight.
Like a wooden telephone pole with a.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, so the first step would be, are there any existing poles that you could add a light to? And 9 times out of 10 there are. So that could be like low hanging fruit, but then second phase, look into decorative lighting.
Yeah. I just noticed that when the soccer games, you know, there's all that lighting in that one little area, those trees that are lighting it through.
And that's always, so that's gonna be a problem, you know, on James Island. That with the street light is on the other side of the tree branches and the street light doesn't do much of it. And sometimes places are dark because of the tree.
Do you have any more?
Well, let me ask you, I don't know what we were talking about, if we couldn't find the pole, could they just have like maybe some kind of light along the railing perhaps? Like you see at parks, like in Columbia, Fenway Park, you know, they have lots like that.
Our boardwalk has lights.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't wanna recreate that. So, but yes. Mark, there?
Yes, there are lighting schemes that you can put on something like that.
Something like that.
Mhm. The decorative poles are great, but if you couldn't get that, that would be kind of hard.
There are a couple of poles around that area that
Oh,
Okay, good. Are you thinking? Okay.
Yes. I think most of the things that I consider are the most important functions have been made sure, but this is what other things you can do, right? Well, I think that we should work towards extending the walkability of Raleigh Road over south.
From Raleigh to some of the neighborhoods or just on Raleigh?
On Raleigh,
On Raleigh.
south towards south.
We need a warming shelter for homeless people on James Island Summer. There's nothing on this side of the world for people to get warm. Now, I don't know what that is. I don't know whether it's town hall, if we move cots in here. I know that's not, I know, but it's just, I thought about maybe the American Legion, because it's doing the bus route over in Raleigh. That might be a possibility, but partner with somebody to give people a place to go when it's cold. Because the only warming shelters I'm aware of are downtown and Mount Pleasant. And we just don't have anything over here for people on Johns Island or James Island to get to.
So I remember a couple years ago, when we were going through the emergency plan, we had started reaching out to some churches.
Mhm.
And the feedback we got in particular from, I think, First Baptist or Fort Johnson Baptist and First Baptist was liability, insurance liability. You know, that was before we went with Smurf. So I don't know if, though we were with the state, but now we have municipal insurance for stuff, so I don't know if they would like, if
There
that's
a
something I
rider
would
you can
look
purchase,
into. Yeah, maybe.
like when you throw an event, you get like, for the
Insurance.
occasion, you know, we insure this area for this amount of time, for this.
Mhm.
Well, one of the things we might do, partnering with some other group is we cover.
Yes,
Yeah, they've got the space in there,
exactly.
cover their liability.
That would be great. But I see that as being something we could do for our community.
We don't really have the state.
Right. But you gotta have mobile, it has to be mobile, you need mobility to make it happen. You know, you gotta have beds, you gotta have somebody to staff it.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little.
We're back to you. I think we are.
We still got 2 windows.
Yeah. So. When that.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Circle back to making June on more bus accessible. I think you would get more people to ride the bus if we had benches at the bus stops instead of a bunch of weeds in the trash can.
Okay, yeah.
So I know the CARTA has rules, but perhaps one of our committees, like neighborhood committees or something, because if private citizens put them out there, the benches can stay. But municipalities cannot. So if it was something that we could do, that could be something that wouldn't even cost very much. But it would make it a whole lot more bus friendly, because I can tell you what, the people that ride the bus that come to my office don't walk very well. And it's not to stand on a bunch of dirt and then and weeds up to your knees with cheers and all this other stuff. I wouldn't ride the bus.
Right.
I beg and borrow my friends every which way I could, besides sitting there. And then they're standing there with their groceries. And we've all seen them, we've all seen people stand, holding on to the sign, and you're like, please don't fall on the road, please don't fall on the road. So I think doing like bitches to every bus stop in the county of Glen is, I think that would be great.
That's a good goal.
So the rule is that there has to be sidewalks. So it's in sidewalks.
But
That's.
one of my patients donates benches to the Carter bus stops, and she's like, she checked with them. She's a retired federal employee.
The rule is that there has to be a sidewalk at the bus stop.
Yeah, they put a, bus shelter, bus.
But
Is there a bus
If there's no sidewalk,
ADA.
the bus can stop there, but there doesn't need to be a bench or a shelter. I think that's what we're.
But what Cynthia's saying, that if someone sticks one there, car is not gonna pull it up or anything like that, right? So,
Right.
and I don't know whether we would be in trouble or, we would put them there, but if we could get other people to do that, that would be a positive.
yes.
But what I was adding is that as we put sidewalks in, then it becomes allowed, and so that.
Yes. But
Right, so this is good.
sidewalks move at the speed of snail though.
Mhm.
So if we do, and that's what a lot of my suggestions are, like, okay, we know that these big projects need to be done, but holy moly, when are we gonna get there? We don't even know, so let's
Well,
do.
It's almost like what we need, I'm sorry to interrupt, it's almost like what we need to do is combine things, like your idea about going down Carly Road. That's a bus route, anytime we just have it in our thing, if we're gonna do something on a bus route, we're gonna also allocate funds for bus benches or shelters along the way. I think that's a nice way to consider it
Yeah,
and conceptualize it, because it should happen anyway.
well, I think,
And Cardiff should help us with the cost. But
well, I think when we were talking at Rethinking College Road, that's pretty much the idea, is as the sidewalk goes, then the bus shelters will be built. But for now, we want more people to ride the bus, get her a place to sit.
Alright.
And that's,
I think, yeah, there's not a bench at the stop that, the family room is right here on Polly, and the house they're staying in is right there. You can download the app and actually see the bus in real time where it is, which is really helpful for,
yeah,
you know,
no, but, yeah, those stops are not very appealing.
I hear it too.
Yeah.
There's a dog.
so.
No.
Okay. Mayor, son,
Yeah, you got anything?
The Iowa Sheriff's Patrol I had down there, I think I was getting waters or donuts, when that came up. That was, an endorsement of all these items, right? Like as far as keeping the dedicated officer and funding the increase.
Yeah.
Think of anything that I would describe as that drainage sidewalks, I think you run the sewers are all up there, so.
Well, we're back, and we're, you know, would love to do maybe.
I would like to find a way to maybe learn more about what other similarly situated municipalities do. And why we need that stuff. Mass have exchange programs, or just kind of like talking, you know, establishing. I know they have an annual convention, but it's hard to get to that. But in the seminar, whenever they have these big gatherings, we get there, you should pick up a couple of good ideas. So somebody to foster like information or other small towns like us. Which again, it's not what I see like must do. Would have been nice. We have that.
Troy?
Well, we could, this is one of our no, there's always, we've done such a good job with some of these, speed humps, you know, so. We could always, you know, always recognize additional roads could be, you know.
So we want traffic calming. So
Yeah,
additional
traffic
traffic.
calming, yes, yes, additional traffic calming. We
Get
can
all the pitchforks and the torches down here again and yell at each
all-
other and
There's always been a good.
point at each other.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few neighborhoods we need to do more, not all, is, have a cut through, so Centerville's good example.
You know, Centerville was one of those that we talked about maybe needing to go back. When
When
we
was that?
approved, when y'all approved that project, it was a kind of, you know, this is like a start here.
I know that man we talked to, we went and visited over in North Charleston, with the DOT. When we went to his office and talked to him about,
Oh, yeah, that was the, district manager, what was his name? It's still the same one, Henderson?
yeah, Tim Henderson. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was that first one, I think that's coming in.
More plantings, flower plantings along Colorado Road. Well, beautification.
I was gonna say planting trees.
Oh, you know, shade my flower.
That's right.
But actually, though, it's taking a long time.
Yeah,
Trees get taken out,
yeah,
they get
trees,
flower.
What I was thinking is if we could use some of the geotech data that we've collected and start identifying places where we can plant trees along island right of ways, and away from power lines ideally. That would be something that I think would be worth exploring. And perhaps using some of the tree fund to purchase trees to plant in those areas. Yeah, well, that's part of it.
Eric, you know?
We don't need dead trees over roadways.
Plant trees.
Yeah,
Oh, that was,
yeah,
okay.
that was it.
And along Polly Road.
No, plant trees in areas that are identified in geotech as having gaps and away from power lines.
Okay.
So we have this resource now, geotech map, where all the trees are. And we're identifying trees that are in poor health, that might need to come out and might need attention. And we're identifying we know the places that don't have trees. So the idea is we can fill in the missing places.
It would be great if maybe we could start having like some music in some of the parks that we've put together, like events to draw people and things such as that. Like maybe like high school music events or a string quartet or something like that. That might be really cool.
It's a good idea.
Bands, GI.
Yep. Have a couple food trucks, you know?
I like the, brewery project that's been underway down the road. Not to say that we want breweries. Using an old building.
They're coming, I think, to the BZA, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep.
Over on Foley with
That
that.
box, and we're taking over that. I'm very disappointed with the box.
Yeah.
It's right by the roost.
Yeah.
I think it's the one in the Diet Magic.
So I was like, so it's not going in the firehouse.
No.
I'm not sure how you would characterize this, but like using that old building for something purposeful and useful, finding other places to promote that kind of, yeah.
Locally
It's
owned.
usually, I mean, all that comes to mind is like putting restaurants and bars and breweries into old places, but it doesn't have to be that. Just kind of finding,
Repurposed or
it's like promoting
providing
small business,
incentives.
yes.
for infill redevelopment.
Yeah, it feels like coming back, and turning over what's already there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess, how do we want to support that? I think I'm always going to say we. How do y'all want to support that?
I mean, how do we let people know that that this is fertile ground for that? I don't know.
Do we recruit? Do we put a ad up, potential location for building plant, whatever you think it is, right?
I don't know. I mean, are we in a position to give, like, they have to pay taxes, right? There's a kind of.
Business.
So I know there's other places they'll put in like an industrial park, not gonna do, but they let business come in and they give them a break for a certain amount of time on taxes. In order to incentivize them to come, start something, you defer the taxes. Start something new in an old existing structure. You get some sort of financial break from us, and I don't know how much of a burden we are on that kind of stuff. Seems like it's minimal.
I don't think the business license is.
Or maybe it's more of like a grant.
It's taxes.
There's a property tax if you don't,
So the-
zero.
There was a, I mean, we can get into that hot mess if we want to, but to be productive, there was that grant program we talked about during COVID, that really got off the ground, where we were gonna match, someone could apply, and we match. No one found out. So, I don't know how you let people know that there's a loan program, if you come here, we will help you out. Well, no,
So So we, now, of course, this particular property on, the old fire station is on Camp Road. It's like 3 buildings down from Olive. And in the past, we looked into getting business development people to help recruit businesses to follow it. And, they were really interested in it and everything, it's like, and they were always pointing to properties on Follow Road. And so, as part of We Think Follow Road, we have pursued that effort. And, solving the issue of, well, you don't want to spend much money to recruit people to Follow Road. We partner with the city, so we jointly promote Follow Road. But I don't think we've accomplished much, but there is a partner of our current school group whose job is to promote.
So how could we incentivize that more? I mean, is there a way we could allocate resources to incentivize that more?
Rose, I think it's Rose and Associates or something is the name of the company. And, she's really working for Tool as a sales consultant and looking at, I guess, all of Follow Road and then what, the steering committee is recommending. So maybe there's a way to maybe work more directly with her. We look at identify buildings and
Another project that we've been working on is to work for small business development with
Low Country Local Parks.
Low Country Local First. And they, one of their programs that, and one thing we're working towards is to have some classes for people who aren't beyond. But we're working towards that. But a project that they have is generally in areas, well, what you do is subsidize rent.
What about zoning or reclassifying uses for some dilapidated areas? So if it's single family residential only, turn into multi-use, doesn't that drive the value of property up, which might incentivize the person to sell
Spot zoning that, and can't do that.
That would be a area. Where it's
And
at.
it'd be like residential office.
I don't think you can just pick like,
So
this
not a law.
house needs to be,
Yeah,
it
so
would
it
need to
could
be
be-
like a
it could-
district or.
So, when you think about it, some examples like on Midvale, the second house down Midvale, was falling to pieces, and it was because, the person with their died, they had children, the children could get their act together, with the will, and stuff, and conflict, and they let the house fall to pieces. We can't rebuild, we can't just rebuild that house. Or there was a example I was thinking down on, that was on. Off of Cannon, across from this church. So, near Yorktown, so Yorktown, there's a lady in Yorktown, and her husband divorced her, she owned this house for decades, and just let it fall to pieces, we can't do something that. It would have to be like an area where we have concerns, or a bunch of development areas, and so you extend. So for example, in Bayfront, the immediately next block off of Follow Road. Maybe, some of those houses would be bad. So like, sort of on the, just behind, Bojangles. So get a good boat. Move across the street. Okay, that would be easy. I'm not really recommending that, but, and I think that the people that live a little bit further down would not be happy about it.
In the comp plan, there's already some of those areas that are identified as
Yes.
future rezoning, yeah, so I mean, maybe there's a way to, going back to your, market that more, to people. So,
And take advantage of some of the natural progressions that are in the comp plan too. Going from office residential to more commercial use, that kind of a transition, or even residential to office residential. And just maybe, figuring out how to make that. Such an incentive, I recommend that. For people.
So on Poly Road, the very center part of South Poly Road is community commercial, and it's just one lot there, on both sides of Poly Road. Behind those businesses on Poly Road is single family residential. And, for the most part, I just don't feel like that, when we go down the streets in Centerville or the streets in, Pratt, where I would say the single family houses that are against the businesses are in bad shape, that there's anything undesirable, that you can really say that. You can say, well, there's farms. So the only place I can think of is where I told
They're in good shape and they hold their value because of the things we put into the plan, to make sure that there were buffers that were maintained.
And then as we move further south and along Folly Road, community commercial ends, and we have on our side, it's commercial on the city side. But on our side, on the east side, it's office residential. To and that the people that live behind it much prefer that to expand into community commercial. So it's problematic to switch it to allow more uses.
I don't feel very strongly about that one, just reaching for something.
we're winding down. Does anyone else have anything you really want to throw out there?
I would like a pothole reporting system.
Pothole recording. Well, we have that.
Do we?
So on the website, there's a public works.
Is there really?
Yes, he gets an email directly to them.
Oh, okay. Well, I had no idea.
So we need to emphasize.
Yes.
it more.
That's right, you gotta ask me tomorrow. As long as you say we, you should
Yeah,
do that.
that's a really good.
Well, you're
If it's your professional neighborhood, we'll fix it that day. Otherwise, it's on the Fort Johnson, I have to get the traffic control.
And it's not just potholes, it's like there's a drop down menu.
I'm not rolling my eyes at you.
Houses,
Drainage,
everything.
tree limb, whatever. Oh, if that's order. That's the only thing's right. Anything else? Okay, let's score.
Well, I'm just interested to see what's going on.
Yeah. All right, so. Cynthia, give me your top, so I'm gonna ask you your top three must have, and I'm gonna ask you your top three
Of all of us?
should have, and then your top three could have. But I'm gonna ask for must have first.
Hope there's no stickers.
No, she looks like.
So we do top five, actually,
No,
top three. For each category.
I would say. I would say. The Island Sheriff's Patrol.
is your number one.
You said my top three, right? Are they, I have to do it like 1, 2, 3? Okay, well, I'll say drainage is my number one. So I'll
Do you
say,
wanna go?
I'll do that one,
Or this route?
I'll do that one, and then, let's see. I'll do Human Waste and James on Creek. for number 2. Okay. And then I'll say, Sheriff's Patrol. Right here, yeah, and on the bottom.
Okay. Anybody else? No, no. Are you still thinking?
You know, as we've always been thinking.
We should have seen this, sorry.
So I need to be Bruce.
Ben, Victor.
I just-
Hmm. I think so. But I'm confused about the drainage.
So this one, I guess, is more of just
Like a line
neighborhood
item.
drainage, just island drainage projects. This one is more of
Road drainage.
road. Well,
Shoulder.
yeah,
I don't really think there's, no, I
Not
don't
so much
think it was,
drainage.
that was the very first one to try, and I think Cynthia put in two things at once.
let's just call it eddy payment.
Yeah, like shoulders.
So to identify that.
Shoulder
drainage,
repair.
like what we have in these tags, things running. So I would do power lines first. To the middle of that. Island Sheriff's Patrol.
Or, you know,
For the drainage, the Highland Sheriff Patrol, and everyone else, but my big difference would also be, traffic controls.
okay. So your first one though is drainage
Yes,
and your
and I would say,
second one is Island Sheriff's Patrol.
yes, and my third one would be traffic control, explicitly the radar signs.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. There's so many good ideas. They're working. I'm gonna go with the dilapidated houses for 3.
On your mustache.
Yeah. Where's the,
Plant trees is on the very end here, and that's what I'm looking
should have been watching the related these down. I think that we need to address inflation in the budget.
Okay.
And we're already doing all the drainage stuff, so I want to do something different.
I think we definitely should let Garrett choose a lot last.
Where is the,
Morning shelter.
Island Sheriff's Patrol, that's it.
This is your.
Yeah,
for.
that's-
ISP is hidden at the bottom.
I looked at that 3 times. and see.
Okay, who knows the top 3 should do's? Okay.
Sidewalk, oil, expand the street, skate line, right above it. And inflation budget. All right.
Okay. Wait a minute. That's right.
But these days, different colors.
The blue marker you're using?
Yeah, kind of hard to tell. I just need to have
We
a
just put it in a
separate
different place.
place.
Yeah, there you go, next,
Okay. Anybody else there? You know your shoes? Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna say edge of pavement on Fort Johnson. I'm gonna say benches to the bus stops, which is all the way to the end. No, with underground power lines. In the middle, one more over.
Okay. Yeah, you got it.
Inflation in the budget. So really, I think that's a must do. Assuming it's, complete a sidewalk project. I'm good with that. Bus shelters. Benches.
Okay. Troy?
The affordable housing, and this was a bubble one, I know too, but we shouldn't. The lighting. And
Lighting along new, the,
around
like,
sidewalks,
yes,
yes. And.
well, so, do we have that two places?
Lighting above.
So we had the streetscape lighting, and identifying places for that, or the new lighting along the lighthouse sidewalk, the new sidewalk.
Yeah,
That
yes, but I mean, I'm sure that other, sidewalks would be lighting it, I kind of went down to more general.
Okay.
So you
well,
should just specify lighthouse.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, you go on there.
Where was, what was your first one again?
Oh, the more affordable housing,
Affordable housing. And this is your second one.
yes, the lighting, yes.
Okay.
And I would say the more you're about this, addressing inflation, I think, would too.
All right.
let's see, I think, sure. Sorry, I think that's like next areas for rid of feedback sign. So, I do think we need to be underground in the power lines with two. Taking action to reduce human waste and general.
Oh, you know what? That was for this one. Okay. That was all the should be, right? Could use.
I'll jump into that.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go first. I think we could, do, let's see. Like the idea of adding benches. And planting trees for the gaps. and having a warming shelter. Because I don't think that's too expensive.
Yep, I would say using more rain gardens to alleviate drainage issues. Warming shelter. And more beautification along Polly Road. And just all the way down there right over there, plant trees.
With the planting trees and beautification on Polly Road, it's two different from. So
Oh, yeah.
beautification one, tree second.
Which one do you want?
I'm gonna go with the plant trees.
Yeah.
And we could combine those, but,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, I got another one.
What do you think?
You know, again,
How do you think yours?
the red ones.
No, you know yours?
Pedestrian, extending pedestrian path south of Balling. The Route 31 expansion. All of the next sheet to the right. That's just bus stops.
Wait. Is that true?
That's right.
Okay.
Underground power lines. And plant trees. And, what's the creek, you know, the creek.
Okay.
No, I think, Cynthia, you got it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I did two of them, I just one more.
No,
You've been thinking about it for a long
you
time.
did all the rest? Did your,
I thought so, I don't know if you, maybe you said mark them down, I said the trees and the beautification, and
oh,
then the sidewalk south one, and then the last
She
one. I
scored it. I don't think she scored it. I think she was taking yours to clarify, so you voted on something, scored it, so she just scored something.
yeah, you're right. I didn't- Okay, so your first one was what? Again?
Beautification of Polly Road.
Okay. I'm gonna combine these two.
Yes. And then, sidewalk south on Polly Road.
Okay?
Oh, but I was gonna have two, so they're combined now.
Mhm.
Warming shelter.
Yeah, well,
A lot of good ideas.
what's the top for the most of these? Let's see. Drainage, right? Drainage is number one.
Oh, number two, I need to share number two. The look to the left on the bottom. It's,
What was the third?
maybe,
Yeah, it's great.
These are just raw scores, right? Not counting all black or blue.
No, I'm counting.
All of them together.
No.
all the black.
All black only. Okay.
Now, all the
time we get stickers.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That one,
Sidewalks,
and
like-
Yeah, we did, these stickers are.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
But the municipal association
That
paid for it.
The stickers were fun.
Remember, like, the-
Oh,
we
yeah.
had it, the inflation of it, I think,
For two.
because they had 5 as well. No, I'm sorry.
Market, they go around, drop.
Like,
We have blue is 5 for complete bills and then 5 for.
Like, this is like something.
So, everyone,
This is a bunch, you look at this.
and then,
two education. Dilapidated has 3.
and average has 3.
Oh, no, wait, so non-reach. But that's already the other one, so we can. So 1. Radar has 3. No, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. All right, well, I'm gonna put all this together and send it out. You can do what you want with it.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley, I think that was very helpful.
So stickers or markers, actually?
Yeah, also, I guess stickers would be easier to see.
Yeah.
Get someone for them.
Or a place.
Yeah. That'd be okay.
It's kind of hard for one to situate.
See everything.
So.
Anyway, that's very
It's also kind
But
of
it
good.
would be more helpful
Exactly.
to
Sort of it all.
send things in ahead of time.
No, no, I don't think so. I think it's a good idea to try to
Oh, really?
put it together. And I like the peer pressure element too. All right, that was kind of a good element to have, because, you know, I mean, everybody had to come up with something, going around and around. That was a good idea. I like that.
So, yeah, any more feedback would be great.
Well, you
Think
can take
about
all
it.
the credit you want.
You can,
We didn't see the other.
criticism would be good.
So now,
All right, so
now we've got to find the money to do these things.
Well, we'll look at the budget and compare that to the priorities compared to the dollar.
Right.
All right, it's time to go.
Yes, please.
It's all right, so thank you so much for coming, thank you so much for that. Nice to see
Thank
you.
y'all for letting me do
Hey,
Thanks
Fran,
for getting that direct.
I wanted to tell you, I stumbled across.
Every, and thanks, Meryl. Then just go.
Oh, you're trying to.
I have been back.
You're trying to have some sort of culpability here.
Mistake for Meryl. No.
it.
You know, it doesn't actually- It doesn't mean